Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, I'm Sydney Olson. I'm a professional parkour and freerunning athlete as well as a stunt woman. This video is going to be very special because I have decided to get a brain scan from Amen Clinics. I first came across Amen Clinics while listening to a podcast. As an athlete, I've had several head hits, quite a few concussions, and I know my memory isn't great, so I just wanted to find out where my overall brain health is at and what I can do to improve it. So when I reached out to them, I was very happy that they wanted to work with me, and here we are now. The process behind it was super easy. First, they had me fill out this survey online that kind of goes into my history and some of my anxieties and all of that. And then we had a phone call where we kind of survey where my brain function is at. And honestly, that was a little hard for me because there was a point where she gave me 3 things to remember, and then I couldn't remember all of them. Oh, yeah, I think it was car, animal, and I don't remember the first one, I'm sorry.
No. Get this ready for you. This test is just to kind of get your brain going. The reason why is because I give you the injection of Ceratec during it. That's when it kind of makes the map of the brain. The left hand on spacebar. You're going to tap it every time you see a letter appear on the screen. Okay. And try not to hit it when you see the letter X.
Oh, shit. No, I did it again.
So that was a practice. How'd you do?
Yeah, I kept hitting X.
The real test, the exact same thing, but 14 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So 14 minutes of doing that. You know, trying your best not to hit X.
So this injection, it just,
This is what maps out the brain for us. So this is how the camera sees you. Without this, there's no image.
Okay. Oh, shit. Wow.
No one's ever done perfect.
Really?
Yep.
Never.
Nobody's never missed an X.
That's crazy. I just go in there. My head goes in there for a while.
So you're going to be on your back, head right here, and the table scoots back about a foot, and that triangle rotates around the head for about 15 minutes.
Okay. It's my brain. What? After the actual brain scan, they had me take this brain assessment test. A lot of memory questions, facial recognition, and I got a lot of good scores when it came to social stuff and positivity. I'm a very positive person. My cognition wasn't great. My memory and my focus and my planning was just really subpar. I don't know why. I'm excited to find out my results from this brain scan and get really personal with you guys. And here we go.
So we get to look at your brain today. We'll look at some test results, we'll look at your brain scans and walk through what those are telling us about your brain, and then we'll end up with some recommendations that will help get your brain healthier for the rest of your life.
Okay, sounds good.
So tell me a little bit, I know that in your line of work, there are some definite risks to your brain. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a parkour and freerunning athlete and a stunt woman. With the parkour and freerunning, I've had some issues where I've fallen on my head before, and I have a scar on my forehead because I smacked my head doing a flip into a foam pit with a metal bar nearby, and I just didn't pay attention. The bar was there. That's just one of those freak accidents. I thought I was being safe. I was warming up in the foam pit and all that, and so that was just something that made me take a step back and realize no matter what you do to prepare, there's always some kind of risk involved. With stunts, of course we try and make it as safe as possible, but there's always things that can go wrong, and sometimes you do something over and over and over, and you've got to feel it eventually.
Little head bonks, over time, can actually have a cumulative detriment on your brain. A lot of times people probably I imagine in your industry, people hit their head and kind of shake it off and keep going. Right? This is why I love that we're going to look at your brain and see if there have been any lasting impacts. Out of curiosity, when you were younger, did you have any concern or suspicion of ADD or ADHD?
My parents always suspected that I had ADHD because I was someone that just couldn't sit still, and they put me in gymnastics when I was about 7 years old because that's all I would do all the time. I'd watch my sister at the gym, and then I'd try everything in our front yard, and so that was also dangerous because I was landing on my neck and stuff. They were like, okay, we're gonna put you in gymnastics, and I found that I was really good at things that involved moving my body, and I'm a very kinesthetic learner. I've learned about myself. If you're telling me something or I'm looking at something visually, I don't learn it the same as just trying it myself. But that was always a suspicion. I've never gotten formally diagnosed with it or anything, but I've pretty sure that's got to be a thing.
Sure, sure. You did okay in school?
Not really for the first bit. I kind of turned it around in high school. Up until high school, I was always missing assignments and I just couldn't like stay focused in class, and I would never test very well. I ended up graduating with like a 3.6 GPA, which was really good for me.
You mentioned a little bit of anxiety. It sounds like it's fairly low.
When I was younger, I had, I would say, more severe anxiety, like when I was a teenager. And I started picking up on these weird habits of like, oh, if I turn the lights on and off this many times, then my mom won't die and stuff like that. It was a weird thing, yeah. But that hasn't happened in my adult life much at all. Right now, I have a relatively, like, very good hold on anxiety. If it comes up, I'm able to like journal or meditate and all that, and that's a daily practice that I do, and I think it really helps me.
Let's look at some test results. Okay, the CPT test result. This is the one that you did when you came in and you did the spacebar and the X's. It was really fun.
I did terrible.
So it was the tough one for you.
Yes.
Okay, that's all right. So we do it for two reasons. One is we wanted to get a picture of your brain in concentration so we can see what's happening.
Okay.
And the second one is we actually score it. It's considered a screening test for ADD or ADHD. I'm going to just draw on here the area between these two yellow lines, and if you want to just kind of lean in, that is the area that's considered average.
Okay.
So some of your scores were not in that range, as you can see. And so at the bottom, there's a little summary, and the summary says, you know, relative to the norm, you scored, you had a few that were out of the range of normal, and this suggested there's a moderate likelihood of you having ADD or ADHD.
Okay. I mean, honestly, it's never been a problem. I think it's helped me, if anything, with my career anyway, because I feel like it is something that you can get hyper-focused in, and my inability in other places to focus it makes up for with my ability to get hyper-focused into this. But yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But I was going to say with the cognition, that one was definitely the most concerning to me because I saw that like my focus was just really bad.
It's a little bit low. Yeah. I agree. I was a little bit surprised by the cognition section for you. You know, on the brain report, your highest score is processing speed. Processing speed is amazing. It's really good, which means that like you're able to pick up on things really quickly. But when we look at your short-term memory is about average. Your long-term memory was below average. Focus and planning and flexibility scores are all below average. And this again looks like someone who might have ADD or ADHD.
So what does the flexibility one mean?
Yeah, the flexibility one is actually you've been telling me that you have this. It means that when you're really interested in something or really focused on something, you can kind of hyper-focus, but it can make it harder for you to shift from thought to thought to thought, or idea to idea, or even activity to activity. Like transitions can be a little bit, like you might feel a little bit resistant to transitions. Sometimes people with a lower flexibility score also have trouble starting something new. Like the kind of like inertia is kind of like, I know I have to do it, but I don't want to get, I don't want to get there yet. So does that make sense?
That is all me, yes.
Okay, so let's look at some brain scans. When we look, we're going to put yours next to that one side by side, and if we see any dents or holes where there should not be dents or holes, that means there's a reduction of blood flow in that area. So reduction of blood flow usually affects function in that area. So a dent is like a reduction, an actual hole is a reduction by 40% or more, which is likely to be significant. Let's put yours next to the healthy example for comparison's sake, and if you want to stand up and just like take a quick look, I want to kind of show you what we see.
Yeah, there's some holes there, huh?
There's a couple holes. Yeah. So healthy example for a female your age range, because it does change by age. We get a little bit of less blood flow naturally to the cortex as we age. So holes, where do you see them?
Right there.
Right there.
That's a big one.
This is the prefrontal cortex.
So what does that control?
Focus, planning, organization. Focus and concentration are huge. And this is really this area, this whole prefrontal cortex. When this is low, we tend to see ADD or ADHD. So this definitely is something that is significant. And then we see a little hole up in here, right?
Right, yeah.
40% or more. Now this is sort of, this is a parietal lobe, and behind that is the occipital lobe. You can see there's a little bit of a reduction in the occipital lobe as well. And then you have a little bit of a reduction in the temporal lobes. This does look like you've had head injuries that have not healed.
Okay.
And that are likely having an impact. And one reason why this is more concerning is because future head injuries can, again, worsen these. We don't get a time stamp on these, so I can't say this happened when you were, 15 or it happened last week. But we do know that there's evidence of head injury or head injuries that have occurred.
Well, this one feels like where it's at, since you're looking at it from like there, that makes sense that it's right where my scar is, right? Like.
Yeah. Actually, it is. Right.
Okay. Makes sense.
Absolutely, that does make sense.
That was a hard hit.
Yeah, and you can see it. The other thing to notice is you have something which is called mild scalloping, which means if you look from the top down or even from the side view, there's a little bit more overall lumpy bumpiness on the surface, which means that there's a little bit of reduction overall to the cortex. But the good news is this is all repairable. This is stuff we can work on helping you heal. And honestly, I think this is great to get you on a good repair protocol because you're going to keep working and you're going to keep being really careful with your brain. And you're going to have a little head bonk here or there, I imagine. All right, let's look at the deeper tissues of your brain. So this is looking at the deeper tissues. So the first set of scans was looking at the cortex, or the outer layer, and this is looking at the inner part of the brain. Blue is relatively low blood flow, red is moderate, and white is high blood flow. So you can see there's the most blood flow we expect is back here in the cerebellum. So let's look at yours.
Okay. What does it mean?
This scan for you is actually really healthy. Okay. There's a couple things that are just sort of fine tuning, but honestly, this is one of the healthier ones I've seen this year, to be honest. And I think it's reflected in the fact that you don't have a lot of anxiety or depression. Yeah. Your mood is really stable. You take really good care of your mental health with your daily journaling. And you do have a little bit of extra activity here in the thalamus, which is the center of the stress response system. Just a little bit of extra activation, but not through the roof. And then these two here are basal ganglia. Basal ganglia are a little bit bright, and those can make you more prone to anxiety. You have a little bit of low-level anxiety that sounds like you've learned how to really manage well. Yeah. But what I will tell you is a little bit of low-level activation here, without white, but just a little bit of red or moderate activation, can help with inner motivation. And you've mentioned that you have really strong inner motivation. So I really think these areas are not areas that we need to quiet down. I think that they're serving you well.
I think so too, yeah.
Your cerebellum is nice and bright. That's this area back here. And here's the cool thing about the cerebellum is one of the best things for it is coordinated exercise. I'm super pleased with this. Overall, this is a very healthy inner brain scan.
That's great. That makes me really happy.
So let's talk about how we're going to heal your brain. When we worked with the NFL football player study, the nutrition and lifestyle piece was making sure they're eating a healthy diet, making sure their weight was healthy. If not, we worked on helping them lose weight. Not an issue here. If they were using substances, help to reduce or eliminate substance use. Also not an issue. If they were not exercising regularly, get the exercise in. We've got that going on. And I really think that overall, your nutrition and lifestyle, I'm glad that you cut the sugar back a little bit. That's a good strategy. Low processed food, it sounds like as well. Yeah, excellent. I would like to recommend a few supplements for you. I don't think you need medication, just so you know. I don't think that's the case at all. But I do think that a few supplements that are really focusing on helping your brain heal is going to be super helpful. One is a high quality, high potency multivitamin. Two is a high quality, high potency fish oil. And the fish oil is going to be really, really helpful to bring more blood flow to the surface. And then the third one is going to be some brain-directed nutrients, really send that good nutrition to the brain where we want it to help support the healing process.
Wow, that was quite a lot of information, and I am processing all of it. Overall, great experience working with Amen Clinics. I was so happy that I got to learn all this information about my brain health, and I am going to be supplementing just like Dr. Bush recommended. I'm excited to see what happens as I make these lifestyle changes to try to heal my past concussions and get my brain healthy again. Obviously, with the ADHD diagnosis, it seems to have served me really well in life, and I don't think I need medication for that, as well as the anxiety. These things, you know, we can use them as stories, or we can use them in ways to help us improve our lives, and for me, ADHD has been something that's greatly served me to have. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This means a lot to me. I hope you guys learned a lot about brain health today. I know I did. Let me know if you like this video and give it a big thumbs up. Thank you.